Viewers, and welcome back to the Self-Made Auto Channel. Got us a 2008 Chevrolet 1500 here. The money light's on. This fellow works at another shop, Chrysler dealer, I guess. Can't figure out what's going on with this. Apparently, it has some lean codes stored in it. They determined it was coming from the leaky exhaust manifold, so they went and fixed those, and still has this problem. Just pulling it up on the scan tool here. We're going to look and see what codes are in it. Get it to read the codes here. We'll see what's in it and then see if we can't help this fella out. Indeed, he is correct. It's 171, 174 all the way around. So lean on both banks, so whatever it is affecting the entire engine. Let's see if we can go right into freeze frame data, gather any information from there. I left the truck cold. It's about -8. Let's see, so this set at 200 degrees, okay. At an idle, looks like the mass airflow is under reporting. Let's see if we can find some fuel trim. It's only 5 degrees outside. Definitely was at an idle. Fuel trim was enabled. Let's see, half a tank of gas. Do we have any fuel trim data? I'm hoping that we do. Okay, fuel trim is pegged out. Long term, both banks. Short term, on bank 1. Was it within fuel control, but it is pretty well pegged out there. Short term on. And we got a lot of short terms here. Short term, bank 2, bank 2, bank 1. Okay. So it definitely was running lean. The good news is, at least for us, is it seemed to do it even when the engine's warmed up, okay? But it does appear that the mass airflow sensor is under-reporting. So that wouldn't be adding enough fuel. So that's something we're going to have to take a look at. What we'll do is we'll back right out. And we will look at some data right from the get-go, and we'll just make sure that it's running lean now, and if it is, we'll see if we can't figure out why. So let's just go right into fuel trim data. We'll customize it, sort it out here. What are we going to want? We'll get engine RPMs. Long term, bank 1 and bank 2. And then we'll get short terms. Got our mass airflow sensor. And I think that's all we'll need. Let's go fire this pig up. Oh, is she cold. Trucks make all kinds of weird noise when they're cold. So you can see our long-term fuel trims are pegged right out there. So we'll let her warm up here for a wee bit of time and see what happens. So it must have went in the closed loop. It's interesting to see now that our short-term fuel trim is starting to make correction. Alright, so our total here would be what? 10% long-term. So 24 minus 14, roughly. So I'm going to kind of let it warm up, see what happens. 10% is not too bad. It's still running lean. Of course, our mass airflow seems to be kind of working where it's at. I'm going to let it warm up, see where this goes. So I've hopped inside the truck here. What does it look like? I still have glare from my overhead lights. Let me shut the door. Truck's still warming up. I might have changed the data pit around on us here in the rope. Nope, we're still going to get a glare, but I think we can all read the screen still. So what we're going to be interested in, our mass airflow data, that's calculated. Let me see if I can get some real mass airflow here. I was just poking around through some data PIDs while I was waiting for it to warm up. There we go. Let's get rid of our calculated. Well, we can leave it on the screen anyways. Let's see. Seems to be about right. Usually your grams per second is about the displacement of the engine. You know, a 5.3 engine should be about, whoa, hang on fellas, about 5.3 grams per second. So that's close enough. That's not going to skew our fuel trims 20, whatever 6 is, almost 30% total. Okay, so what I want to do is rev it up. If we rev it up and we reduce manifold vacuum, that's going to tell us, are we dealing with a vacuum leak or lack of fuel? So if our fuel trims numbers get better, let's see here, we'll hold her up about 2,000 RPMs. And look at that. Look at our fuel trims. They're what I would consider perfect. You know, add them together. Add them together. We're close to 0. And that's what we would want. Low manifold vacuum, high manifold vacuum. I think we're dealing with a vacuum leak. So before we get too hog wild, get her too hot, let's see what we can find. Oh baby, she's got a green performance. Don't Kendra and Natalie over here letting the dogs bark. So that's one thing I hate seeing: aftermarket mass airflow silicone together with a cheap aftermarket air intake. Let's make sure this doesn't have any extra nipples hanging off it that aren't hooked up. I hate these things because there's always that variable. Turbulent air going into the engine from aftermarket components. There's really no way to rule that out short of putting the factory one back on. Maybe worth calling him and ask him, did he put that on and then create all of his problems? We'll just do a little bit more checking first. Even though the airflow meter did seem to work correctly. I hate aftermarket garbage. Let's see. Do we keep going? We do. Let's proceed. Alright, so we're going to use the old ready smoke. And what we're going to do is we're not going to spend a lot of time here because we see the aftermarket gizmo and our problem is at an idle. Let's take and get this hooked up. I popped the filter out. We're going to go right in the end of the intake. What the heck's going on here? It sounds like she's hissing on me. Alright. And then we're going to be using our easy intake. So it's just a big diaphragm goes in there and watch him grow. We'll pop that up. Oh, that's not going to work because that still has a waffle plate in it. Plan B. Where's my screwdriver? Right here. So we'll go plan B. If we don't see any vacuum leaks, we have to assume, you know, it's aftermarket business. Not trying to down the aftermarket industry, but sometimes cold air intakes really mess these trucks up. If we had a fuel delivery problem, we would have seen it once the engine was revved up. Of course, we'll take it for a quick ride just to verify it. All right, there's that. We'll stiff this baby in the hole. Pump her up and get our smoke going. All right, that's got the hole plugged. We'll get the old Avoca smoker. Better get smoke in here. Want to make sure we got lots of smoke before we plug it in, and then we're just going to stick it in this hose here. Got this thing kind of sitting on its side. Let me set it over here so it's sitting upright. Want to make sure she gets a little warmed up. Everything's a little chilly in the shop today. This one takes a few minutes to get blowing heavy smoke. Alright, we'll plug her in there. See if we have a smoke show anywheres. Now, one data PID we should have looked at that we didn't was fuel tank pressure, because if the purge solenoid's stuck open, that's going to give us a really lean code. I should have looked at that, but I didn't. However, I think I already see our problem. I don't see any smoke, but I think I see a problem. Let's go over here and have a little gander. What is that hose hanging off the valve cover? That is going to give us some issues, right? I don't see any smoke coming out of it, which is interesting. But isn't that a vent tube? It's got to be the vent for the valve cover. That would have went into the factory air box. That's going to be a lot of pirate air. There's the other one. So there's one back of that valve cover goes around to the intake. So that's probably the PCV system. And then this one, that one down there, that should be the fresh air side, right? Am I thinking about this right? I am. I should be. We got smoke coming out of something. Let me get a flashlight so I can see where all this is coming from. Lots of smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Or vacuum leak in this case. What we got back here? We have back here where the brake booster goes in. She is smoking like a freight train around that. So can you guys see that in the mirror? That little red ring, that's like almost like a little shark bite fitting where the brake booster hose goes in. So that's a massive vacuum leak. Alright, so that's coming from back there, and then we set that down. Also, what we looked at, or what we saw at first, our other side of the PCV, which is down there. I'm not real good at blowing, but you guys get the gist. She's smoking out of there, so that's a massive vacuum. It's like a half-inch hole vacuum leak. We got to pick our battles here. Is it going to be that one, or is it going to be this one, or is it going to be a combination thereof? Let me see if I can wiggle that little guy in there more. Maybe that one seals up under vacuum. I don't know. That's a pretty big leak, fellas. Yeesh. I think problem one is solved. This thing wasn't it wasn't clicked in all the way. Now look at it. I reach back there. Ah, crap, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. Let me get some more light back there. Hang on. Maybe this will help. Yeah, see, you can't see that red ring on it now? I was trying to get it, you gotta push in on the red ring to disconnect it. I was trying to get it out, and I just wiggled it a little more and it clicked in all the way. So that leak is sealed. Oh, we may be able to actually fix this truck. Our dilemma is, because this is not the right air intake for this truck, is we don't know what to do with this hose. So we can't just block it off, otherwise there'll be an insane amount of vacuum in the crankcase. That hose, technically, we need to have a hose that goes to this, the mean green weenie, and I don't feel anything on it. What can we do? What can we do? So here's the plan. Unhook the smoker. There we go. I took the little rubber elbow off down here where it comes out of the valve cover. And it's just a 3/8 elbow. Of course, it's full of gobbledygook. Let's get some 3/8 hose. Let's unhook this. Jeez, this is stuck in there pretty good. Let's unhook the smoker. These things are fantastic to have around the shop. If you guys don't have one, Redline makes them. It's called the Easy Intake. Makes life, well, you know, easy. Not every aspect of your life, but at least the smoking part. I'm gonna loosen this clamp back up. All right. And what I'm thinking is that we take something like this. This is just a little 3/8 plastic elbow. We waller out a hole in here. We epoxy this little guy in there, and then we hook our fresh air hose back to where it needs to be, so it's not sucking all that pirate air. Because you guys know how bad pirates are, especially the ones in the Caribbean. And I think if we just go right over here we can just, you know, where you guys can't see, just we'll make a little loop that comes up and goes right into this sucker. How do we do that? Let's say, let me just probably ought to mark it. We're gonna see where we're at. Should have bought a K&N. The mean green doesn't come with it, so we're gonna go right on this elbow. That's gonna be pretty much directly above it. Let me just hold my hand there. We're gonna mark it with a goblet of grease, not really. Right on that seam, right on this elbow. Let me get a drill. We'll drill that, epoxy it, get some hose, and we're done. Let's see, make sure I marked it. Yeah, I think that was the spot. Seems like I would have marked it at this point. It's gotta be the spot. I marked it with my knife. I made a little X on it. Let's water it out. Oh, you know she's gonna snag. I'm waiting for it. Whoa, there she goes. Make sure you don't have anything hidden down in there. Oh, look at that, she's tight. Like a tiger. That thing gonna be sweet. Now I gotta see if I have some kind of epoxy. And then that should be enough room. I got some hose. We'll slip that up on. She's gonna be tight. I want to stick it out because I want to get stuck. That's gonna help. Hopefully we can epoxy it solid enough. Wish I had some kind of plastic welding device. If we can epoxy it just like that, she'll stay. That'd be good. Reach my hand in there. What would I even do? Probably what he would have done is cut the barb off this, drilled the hole a little smaller so it was a super tight fit. Ding dong, I didn't even think. Problem number 2, I don't have any epoxy kicking around, but I do have some JB Weld. I'm gonna mix it up here. It says it bonds plastic, aluminum, steel, titanium, diamond in under 4 minutes with a weld-like bond. We're gonna give it a go. If it doesn't work and it just doesn't bond to the plastic, I will get some plastic epoxy resin stuff. We'll mix this up good. It said it's professional grade. And we're doing a semi-professional repair. Thinking I'm not real good in the jerry rigging department, but I think we'll just stick it under the lip here. Wind it around there. Make sure we have a good coating for maximum bondage. Okay, which I think we do. And then something that's going to be real hard for me to not fiddle with that for the next 10 minutes. Get it up on the, so I'll make sure we got it pressed good all the way around it. I don't know if it's going to be a long-term fix or he's going to get the appropriate air intake, but this is at least going to prove our fix because we'll be able to take it for a shake. This thing's pretty porous, so hopefully it bonds well to it. We could add a little black paint to it and a sticker. That definitely might help. I don't have much experience with JB Weld. I don't even know why I have this here. It was brand new. I've seen it's been on that shelf for a couple years, so hopefully it's good. I'm probably fiddling too much already, ain't I? Okay. Alright, it's on. Don't touch it, just walk away. I'll get it set where it's gonna stay. Walk away. I need to learn how to read. I wrote my cookie. It said 4 to 6 minutes, I thought. Allow 4 to 6 hours. Or overnight, 15 hours. Well, that ain't gonna happen. We're gonna have to go to plan C. I don't know what plan we're on right now, but we don't have 4 to 6 hours. We're gonna go on a napper. Get some epoxy. 1 hour later. Permatex. Plastic welder. Got it from the napper. I don't know how the lid goes back on it. It doesn't seem to... Oh yeah, it does click on. No, it doesn't click on. Well, it'll probably dry up before we ever need it again. Ever. Or I'll put some tape on it. It says plastic welder, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that. 24 hours, fully cured. Will not bond with polyethylene or polypropylene plastics. I'm not a plastics connoisseur, so I can't tell you the difference between one and the next. But I did mix it up and stuck it on there. And it feels nice and hard and plasticky now. It's been, I don't know, maybe an hour. So we're gonna give it the old go. I gooped up a hose. I'm just gonna hold this because I don't want to snap it off. We'll wiggle that up on. We'll slip her on down here. Actually, I think we gotta slip it in here first. I'm gonna be careful with my hose. Work that around there. We at least just gotta be able to test our concept, right? It's only temporary unless it works. Get everything taken back up. Lined up nicely. Tighten her up on the throttle body here. Yeah. Whoa, grab our light. We'll hook it up to the fresh air side. Oh yeah. Plastic's still holding strong. Let's push it up on all the way. All right, air leaks. That should be resolved. Let me put the engine cover back on. We'll start it up. We won't clear the codes because we want to watch our fuel trims automatically correct. Turn our key on. We're gonna have to reselect our data. So another feature that's not so handy on this is like the launch, it will save the ones that you selected. So we'll get coolant temp, engine speed. What do we want here? We want loop status, fuel trim, mass airflow, and then we want our short term, not spark. Let's fire this baby up. Take a few minutes. We're gonna have to wait for it to hit closed loop, and then we should see a drastic change, which we are. Our short-term fuel trim should start compensating for our long-term. We can see -11, -12. I'm expecting it to maybe -20-ish. And that's how we know we have it fixed. -24 would be absolutely perfect to see. So it's making huge corrections right now. What we'll do is we'll let it compensate on its own. Once the short-term fuel trims stay at, -20 or wherever they're going to stay, once our fuel trim learn is enabled, our long-term will come back down. So this is why it's important not to clear your code right off the bat. This tells us 100% we have this truck fixed, beyond a shadow of a doubt. So what we can do now is we can back out. Yeah, the truck's going to start running kind of cruddy. I'm thinking, I think we can just enable its learn. Let's see if it allows us to select the data that we want. It typically doesn't, but we'll see. In this case it does, thankfully. Okay, fuel trim learn is already being enabled. And it looks like we've already made corrections. We'll pop back into our regular data to see if that's the case. We just got impatient, should have waited. And then at this point you can, clear the codes or just drive the truck till the light goes out. And it's already made the correction. So yeah, the learn already enabled. We didn't have to manually turn it on. And we can see your fuel trims in an absolutely perfect world would be 0. General rule, very general rule, plus or minus 10%, you start looking for a problem. I try to move it around plus or minus 8%. Most cars will hang very, very close to 0%. And we can see our long-term, on bank 2 is minus 2% and then almost 1%. On bank 1, and we can see our mass airflow is about a gram per second higher than it was, so that's good to know. Rev it up here and we're still good. Bring it back to an idle. And about 6 grams per second. Fuel trims are going to correct as it goes into different learned or different fuel cell blocks. It's going to learn each time. So at this point, I'm comfortable clearing the check engine light, calling this a fix. Of course, I'll show the feller what I did in case he wants to do something different. I have no idea how the epoxy is going to react in cold weather, hot weather, long-term heat, vibration, all that stuff. Looking back, what I might have done is I might have run a a die over top of that nipple and tapped, let's say, 7/16 coarse thread, and then drilled and tapped the pipe and then threaded it in with some epoxy. That'd give it a little bit more of a bite. I'm very hesitant to put something inside the tube for sure. I don't want something coming undone and the engine eats it. I'm going to take the truck for a drive just to be sure, but we have it fixed. It's confirmed. I'm happy if you're happy. Everybody happy? And then these are the fuel trim cells I was talking about. It should be just a number. Yep, long term's 1.6 on both banks. Fuel trim cell number 6. I don't know how many different fuel trim cell blocks there are, but depending on engine load, all that stuff, it changes. Like here, if we rev it up, it's going to go into a different fuel trim cell, I think. Nope, it didn't change. Oh yeah, it did. It went to fuel trim cell number 14. So, and then it's going to learn the value for each cell, each engine load, each throttle input. That's the easiest way I can explain that to you. So, alright, that's it. We fixed it. We're good. Alright folks, that's it. This Chevrolet lives to die another day, and now he'll be able to get his sticker, because I see it has no inspection sticker on it. He's just going to have to drive it, run it through a drive cycle, and then he can slap a sticker on it at his shop, I assume. So when you're looking at fuel trims, if your fuel trims are off on an idle, calling for more fuel, lean condition, always increase the RPM to decrease manifold vacuum. And that's going to tell you right away, is it a vacuum leak? Now, if our fuel trims numbers stayed negative when we increase the RPM, now we're not looking at a vacuum leak, we're looking at, you know, fuel delivery, mostly is the only one I can think of right offhand. You know, mass airflow input, something like that, something that's going to skew it. So that's always a quick and dirty test. You want to check fuel delivery, go down the road, watch your O2 sensors data, put it right to the rug. Put it in power enrichment mode. If your O2 sensors all go high, you know, 900 millivolts, you know, at that point, you almost don't even have to check fuel pressure or anything, because you know fuel delivery is good. But we saw when we did it, we raised the RPM, fuel trim got pretty good. And the only thing that changes is engine vacuum. So that's how we knew to go after vacuum leak. We found the brake booster bit, and then of course, you know, the fresh air side of the PCV system, which has to draw air through the mass airflow, otherwise it's, you know, not accounted for. That's it, just a goofed up aftermarket green weenie gizmo thing. Go down in the comment box, leave your questions, comments, criticisms down there. Tell me how you would have fixed it. And while you're down there, subscribe, ring that bell like Scotty would say. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.